Alrighty, it is 1:30, so we have a lot of information to go over, so we're going to go ahead and start this webinar. So first of all, hello everyone. Thank you for joining me today on today's webinar. Before I get started, I do have some housekeeping notes. I do want to point out that I do have everyone on mute. However, feel free to type in your questions and I'll try to address your questions during the webinar if time allows. If not, I will definitely address your questions offline. Also, like all my training webinars, this webinar is being recorded and I will be sending out a follow-up email that'll include the recording, a copy of my PowerPoint presentation, as well as some other helpful resources. So with that, let's get started. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for joining me in today's webinar regarding the recent magazine changes that will affect the filing for your 6-month June 2022 publisher statement. Now, AAM has been closely working with the magazine division to streamline reports and data by updating, simplifying reporting requirements, as well as modernizing the audit process while still ensuring buyers have the necessary information to make informed decisions and transact with trust. Throughout the past few months, AAM has provided various resource materials, articles, emails, blogs, etc., outlining AAM's magazine simplification initiatives. So today, what we're going to do is just do a cursory overview and highlight the main initiatives that have taken place. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the effective date of these changes. When do they go into effect? Then we're going to do a quick summary review of the revised magazine rules and guidelines. And then I'm going to spend a few minutes going over the reporting simplifications. We're going to look at the reporting categories and see what changed. Then I'm going to go briefly just touch base about rapid report and the change that happened that's effective with the January 1st, 2022 issue. And then I do have a housekeeping miscellaneous filing update that I will go over. And then I'm going to switch over the presentation to my colleague, Chad Jeanette. Most of you know Chad. He is the audit manager for periodicals, and he is an expert in the magazine world. And he is going to go over the modernization and the magazine audit process. And then we'll close out the webinar with various resources that I think you'll find helpful. Now, when are all these changes taking effect? All the changes associated with the magazine simplification initiative are effective with the January 2022 issue and will be first reflected on your June 22 statement and rapid report information for both US and Canada. So basically, these changes are effective now. And you'll see these changes when you file your information for your 6-month ending June 2022 publisher statement. The next two slides I really like because it does give a brief visual summary of the revised magazine rules and guidelines. So for example, post expires. Post expires now includes 3 months of service, regardless of the original subscription term. For file transfers, originally, if you looked at that rule, it was pretty long and cumbersome. We really did streamline that rule to make it more intuitive and more streamlined. We did eliminate things that weren't necessary, so that rule has been updated. You're going to find with average price, we did simplify the calculation for average price, and I'll go over that in a few moments here. But average price, we really did simplify the calculation in that it's reflecting the current period subscriptions for the average price calculation. It's not looking at 12 months worth of information, it's looking at the current 6-month reporting period. Membership. Membership for paid distribution, we had association deductible, association non-deductible, same thing with clubs. You still report, if you had that type of distribution, you still report it, but it got rolled up into one category called membership. And when I'm going over the different changes in reporting, you'll see that. Next, we have verified distribution. This is where a lot of change did occur. Previously, under verified, for subcategories for verified distribution, we had over 40 options for you to choose from. We have since consolidated that into 5, and you'll see that momentarily when we go over the reporting changes. Next, we have consecutive issuance. Consecutive issuance has been eliminated, so you don't need to worry about consecutive issuance for verified distribution. Next is analyze non-paid, kind of goes hand in hand with verified distribution. There were some categories in analyze non-paid, such as list, market coverage, delivered with host product, that we moved into verified. So really the only thing left in analyze non-paid is analyze non-paid bulk, and that stayed the same. Next is what we refer to as the production paragraph. It's when we look at your gross sales during the 6-month statement period for renewal, new subscriptions. We looked at the duration, was it 12-month subscription? We looked if you used a premium, etc. Well, AAM is no longer reporting that information, so you don't need to report it. Next, rapid report. And rapid report is only for US public magazine publications. And it used to be that if you had distribution 250,000 or greater, you report rapid report information with AAM. That is changed to 500,000. So what that means is if you have a publication that is 500,000 or greater, it's mandatory you report your rapid report information with AAM. Otherwise, it's optional. Next, multi-title digital circulation. We were going through the simplification, streamlining process. One of the things that we did, we took a look at both the US and the Canadian magazine rules, and we compared them side by side. And we wanted to make sure they were aligned. And one of the alignments that we did was with multi-title digital. So regardless if you're a US magazine or a Canadian magazine, if you're reporting multi-title digital, it's going to be based on unique opens. The last 2 categories has to do with audit frequency and audit workflow. We're going to be transitioning from a 12-month audit cycle to 24 months reconciliation. And also too, with the technical enhancements that we have now, we're able to do more real-time testing than looking in the past. And like I said before, my colleague Chad Jeanette will be discussing this a little further down in the presentation. In the next few slides, we're going to be talking about the changes for reporting. And how it works is I have what the category was previously, so what it was like in December 2021, and how it's going to look when you file your 6-month June 2022 publisher statement. So to start off, we're going to be talking about paid distribution individual subscriptions. Under individual subscription, there was also a line item called deferred. So if you happen to have deferred subscriptions, you still report them in June, your June 6-month statement, but it's going to be reported in individual subscriptions. So for deferred subscriptions, if you have them, you're going to report them and include them in individual subscriptions. Next, under paid distribution, we're going to be talking about membership. So for membership, previously, we had association deductible, association non-deductible. Then we had the clubs deductible, non-deductible. If you have this type of distribution, you still report it, but it gets reported in one category called membership. Also too, AAM, it recognizes that more and more publications are having branded membership type programs. These are programs that offer a variety of rewards, perks for membership fee, and they also include the subscription to the publication. Well, if that's the case, AAM now allows you to report that distribution, and you would include it under membership, and that is effective with the 6-month ending June publisher statement. Next, we're going to be talking about school copy, classroom copies. If you happen to have in the past reported school classroom copies, you can still report them, but they get included in sponsored subscriptions. Now, this next slide has a lot to it, and it's about verified distribution. And a lot of change did happen to verify. At first, though, when you look at it, nothing did change. Under verified subscriptions for the main categories, you have public place and individual use. That remained the same. But the next thing but what really did change for verified were the subcategories, that additional analysis that for verified. Previously for public place, there was 14 subcategories that you could choose from for public place alone. We changed that to 3 categories. So now you have medical dental, personal care, and other public place. So for example, if you have copies that are going for a doctor's waiting room, you put it under medical. If you have copies that are at a beauty salon, you put it under personal care. If you had copies that originally you had going to hotels, you would put them under other public place. The other change that occurred was individually use. Previously, we had 26 options for you to choose from. Now, we have 2 for individual use. You have individually requested, which as long as the request is received within 36 months. And then the other category would be other individually addressed. So pretty much it was really simplified for individual use. Is it requested? If it's not, then it goes into other individually addressed. Do want to point out that we have a couple notes for verified distribution. We have about consecutive issuance. Just as a reminder, that has been eliminated. So you don't have to worry about consecutive issuance for verified. Also, too, if you have digital, verified digital, if it's requested, we're going to look at the request. If it's other verified digital, then we're going to look at the recipient's access to your edition. It's going to be based off of access. I do like this part of the slide because it does show you how it's going, your verified distribution, if you have verified distribution, how it's going to be reported in the 6-month June 22 publisher statement. So this stayed the same. We have verified subscription, public place, and individual use. But what did change was this other verified. You have public place. Remember, you had those 3 categories of medical, dental, personal care, and other public place. And if you're reporting individual use, it'll be individual requested or other individually addressed. Next, kind of goes hand in hand. It's analyzed non-paid. Now, what we did previously for analyzed non-paid, it used to be we had lists, market coverage copies, non-paid bulk, and delivered with host product. But effective with the June 2022 publisher statement, what's going to happen is if you have list, market coverage copies, or delivered with host product, you still report them, but it gets reported under verified subscriptions, other individually addressed. So the only thing that's remaining in analyzed non-paid is analyzed non-paid bulk. And it's a rare occasion, but if you happen to have bulk analyzed non-paid digital, it would be based on access. Next is what we refer to as those production paragraphs. Again, this is where you take your gross subscriptions for the new and renewal during its statement period, and we look at duration, use of premiums, and channels. Well, that's all gone away. We're no longer reporting that information, so you don't need to report it unless you want to. If you do want this information reported, you would report it in the notes section of your report. Otherwise, we're not reporting it. Next is everyone's favorite, average price. Now, this really did simplify in the fact that it's going to be based off of the current 6-month reporting period, not 12 months, but 6 months. So what does that mean? So when you file your 6-month ending June publisher statement, you look at your sales that you have from January 1st of 2022 through June 30th, 2022. It's looking at the 6-month period. Also, too, credit cancels, premiums, international sales, less than 10% of total circulation can be included in the average price calculation. So let's take a quick look at what the formula looks like for average price. The first thing is sales generated from subscriptions ordered within that 6-month period. You're going to deduct any sponsored sales, any multi-title digital subscriptions, as well as if you had any international sales that were over 10% of circulation. And then you're going to divide that by the total number of copies generated from the sales to get your average price, your average subscription price per copy. Then you're going to take your average subscription price per copy, multiply it by your annual frequency to come up with your average subscription price annualized. Do want to point out that myself and Chad will be having a separate webinar on April 13th. It's just a half-hour webinar, just going over average price. We'll go over it a little bit more detail, go over the components of average price, what you can include in average price, what you can't include in average price, and we'll do a live demonstration of a calculation of average price. Again, that webinar will be on April 13th. Next, multi-title digital. Like I mentioned earlier, when we were doing streamlining things and looking at ways we can align everything, one of them was looking at the rules, making sure the rules were the same for both US and Canada for magazines. And one of the alignments we did had to deal with multi-title digital program. So for multi-title digital program, regardless if you're a US publication or Canadian, it's going to be based on unique opens. So the reporting still remains the same. It's just a line item under paid subscriptions, and you will have an explanatory for multi-digital program in the notes section, but it's going to be based off of unique opens. So the next thing is rapid report. Rapid report is only applicable for US publications. And it used to be you had to report your rapid report data if your distribution was 250,000 or greater. That changed. If you're a US publication and your circulation is 500,000 or greater, you report rapid report information. Otherwise, it's optional. Also, too, we did enhance, we really kind of streamlined the online filing tool for rapid report. So when you go into the Publishing Filing Center, you click on Rapid Report, and then you're just going to go click on Circulation, and then you're going to fill in the necessary information for that particular issue. So the next one coming up would be for March 2022. So you're going to fill in that information, but I do want to point out the information that I've gone over so far regarding the changes to paid, to verify, analyze non-paid, are reflective in rapid report. So meaning in the past, if you happen to have market coverage copies that you had analyzed non-paid, if you still have market coverage copies, you report them under verified. Also too, make sure you save the information. You would click save. But then to post the information, you need to make sure, so it gets reported and released, you want to make sure you click post. Once you post the information, it is automatically updated in the Media Intelligence Center in your brand view profile in the tab Rapid Report. The next one, I know couldn't get it all on the screen for you, so to speak, but it just gives you a quick visual of what the publisher statement is going to look like for June of 2022 for 6-month ending June 22 reporting period. The format stays the same. The only thing is that some of the categories change. For example, we had the membership, and then for verified, the additional analysis, that's where you have the personal care, the medical, dental, other public place, etc. This next slide, kind of a housekeeping note when it comes time for filing your 6-month claims for June 2022. Because of the implementation of these changes that are occurring, AAM has eliminated the COVID-19 exceptions effective with that January 1st, 2022 issue. Initially, AAM came up with COVID-19 exceptions early spring of 2020 during the height of the pandemic, and we extended those exceptions numerous times. And they did expire with the December 31, 21 issue. So basically what this means, when you file your distribution for 6-month ending June 2022 publisher statement, there's no COVID exceptions. Now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Chad. Chad's is the audit manager here at AAM. I'm sure most of you know Chad, and Chad's going to talk about the modernization of the magazine audit. Chad?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks again for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend this webinar. It was great to see so many familiar names registered. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Chad Jeanette. I'm one half of the team of audit managers that work with periodicals here at AAM. My counterpart is Sarah Walsh. So if you're not usually working with me, you are probably working with her. So I'm just going to take a minute to talk about the audit process. As Sandy went through the slides and the explanations on today's webinar, you may have noticed that most of the changes involved the simplification of AAM rules and reporting. So when AAM began examining the audit side of the equation, we had to think on what we could do to make the audit process align with our simplification initiative. So as we turned on this slide, I would like to introduce to you at a very high level to the modernized AAM audit for magazines. Once again, high level here, but what does that mean? Well, the first thing it means is there will be a shift to a reconciliation of every 24 months with an ongoing review throughout that 24-month period. So let me translate. The moment we're basically looking at the audit process from the moment you push submit on your statement. At that moment, using both technology and AAM staff, the examination of the circulation starts, and it continues over the 24-month period. The audit report, the actual release of that data, will include all of those issues that were in the 24-month period and will be released at the 2-year mark. If you're currently undergoing an audit for December 21, which I know many of you are, the current guidelines and practices still are in place. This is all effective starting in June of 2022, just like some of the things that Sandy mentioned. So some audit timelines may be moved. Sarah and I are currently in the process of examining all of our titles, looking what audit cycle they're on, looking at the groups, and trying to see how we can best balance. So not everybody is releasing reports at the exact same time, which puts a burden on us, it puts the burden on you. So in turn, I would ask everyone to take a moment, if you do handle multiple titles, or even if you don't, to take a look and see, is this an opportunity for me to change the audit cycle? For example, let's say you're working with 7 titles and 6 of them are on December cycle and 1 of them is on June. Are you comfortable with the new process going forward that let's say those 6 were on a December 21 cycle, your next audit release will be December 23. Do you want all of those 6 titles handled, or excuse me, released December 23? You know, it gives everyone an opportunity to themselves even balance out. So as Sarah and I continue the examination of this, if we have to, we will be reaching out to ask if there would be a possibility that some may move cycles. So that's, like I said, a very high level. I think you'll notice more once, as far as details, once the audit process starts, as we have also made some shifts in focus and risk examination. So with that, I will turn it over to Sandy, and she can finish up the webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Great, thank you so much, Chad. I sure appreciate that. A lot of information that we went over. But truly, we just wanted to give you a cursory overview of the changes that are occurring with magazines. But feel free to ask us any questions. We know that when it comes time to filing, those questions will pop up. So feel free to reach out to us. Had a couple that did come through. One was about regarding verified. Now that we just have the 3 categories for public use, for public place, and then for individual use, it's 2 categories. If you want, you can further explain your verified program in the notes section of your publisher statement. So you do have that opportunity to explain in further detail about your verified program. Chad, I'm going to throw this one out to you. I don't think we're going to be doing this, but they asked if there's going to be an average price workbook.
Actually, yes, Sandy, I will address that. Hi, Jean. I thought that question was yours. I am working on an average price worksheet. It's very simple considering the formula is now very simple. I'm looking at a 1-pager here, but I know that many clients here do like to use that just to plug the numbers in and kind of let it calculate out for you. So I am working on that, Sandy, and I'll address Colin's question as well. Colin, I kind of addressed it a little bit where, and I know with PWX Solutions, your audits are all over the place in regards to cycles. So we'll be looking at the ones that you handle, that your group handles, just like we will everyone else, and see if we need to shift or not.
Well, great. That looks like it's the questions that we have so far that we received. We are kind of running out of time, but I do want to point out some helpful information that I think that you'll find beneficial. We have 2 webinars that I think you'll like. The first one is April 13th, and it's regarding average price. We'll take a little deeper dive into average price calculation. It's a quick webinar. It's only going to be a half hour. It'll be myself and Chad. Actually, primary Chad will be the one going through the average price calculation and going over, what do you include in average price, what you do not include, and actually go try to do a live demonstration of an average price calculation. The next one is on June 22, 2022 for your 6-month ending June 22 publisher statement filing. Basically, this is a filing webinar. It's a good webinar as a refresher. Also, too, just to kind of see how these changes that I just went over today, how they're going to be implemented in the filing tool, as well as the filing, your actual publisher statement. I'll be doing a live demo of the filing tool, and that's June 22nd. Also, we have some really good resources on our website that I will be including some of the resource links in my email to you that will have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, the recording, and also some resource links. One of them that I really like is this Magazine Change Resource Hub link. It's a great link that when you click on it, it goes into the various articles that we previously published regarding the magazine changes. This next one I really like, and I'm going to click on it so you can see, is the June 22 Magazine Media Reporting Category Map. I really like this one because what it does, it gives you a quick visual of the changes of what the categories were like in December 2021 and what they're going to be looking like in your 6-month publisher statement for June of 2022. Very similar to what I had previously disclosed in the PowerPoint presentation. So I think you'll find this one helpful. And then also, also too, we have I include a link for the prototype, as well as there's a really good article that we have about average price. And as always, you can always email us questions or call us. Call myself, call Chad, or you can also talk to Sarah Walsh. She's also has some periodical titles as well, and ask any questions you have, regardless if it's, if it's regarding the reporting changes, changes to your audit, even average price. We're more than happy to help out. So with that, we're going to go ahead and end this webinar because we're up against the time. But thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.